Good evening and welcome to Home Group. Tonight, I'd like to expand on a subject Pastor Brett talked about this morning. It's one of those things that's easy to discuss, but much harder to live, and it's based upon this morning's point, refuse to retaliate. Romans 12:17 and 18 says, "Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what's right in the eyes of everybody, and if it's possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone." Now, it's interesting to note that our reaction to a situation is often dictated by our proximity to that situation. Let me explain. For instance, your friend gets cut off in traffic and admits to you that they lost their cool. Well, based upon the fact that you weren't there, it's easy to say, now, you know you are a Christian person, and as Christians, we are supposed to forgive 70 times 7. Come on. You know better than that. But how things change when we're the ones driving. How quickly we sidestep what we know the Bible tells us to do and instead do what our feelings tell us to do. And isn't that a conundrum? But be encouraged, because our going against what we know to be right, in doing that, we're in pretty good company. In Romans chapter 7, the Apostle Paul, who, by the way, wrote half of the New Testament, says, "I do not understand what I do. For what I want to do, I do not do. But what I hate, I do." We have yet another example, a shining example of this, in the classic saga for all the ages, Rocky. As they stand in the corner before a match between Rocky Balboa and James Clubber Lang, Clubber Lang starts trash-talking to Rocky. Rocky's trainer, Apollo Creed, tells Rocky, "Don't look at him, let's just be cool." But when Clubber Lang's remarks shift their focus to Apollo Creed, Apollo lunges toward him, causing both corners to empty, and pandemonium ensues. Rocky, yanking Apollo out of the fight, says, "I thought you said be cool." And Apollo replies, "That was cool." For those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, because perhaps you weren't yet born, it's on YouTube. Type in Rocky 3, "That was cool." Well, regardless of how cool we may think it is, retaliation is wrong. As a Christian, we're to follow the example of our leader. Perfect in all of his ways, he endured false accusation, mock trials, scourging, and ultimately death. Yet as his death drew close, he uttered the words, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do." Now bear in mind that this is the same Christ who during his arrest responded to Peter's cutting off a servant's ear by first of all healing the servant and then saying, "Put your sword back in its place. Do you think I cannot call upon my Father and he will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels?" So let's put that in perspective. The word legion is a military term taken from the Roman army. A legion equals 6,000. So 12 legions of angels would be 72,000 angels, or at least that amount, because Jesus said more than 12 legions of angels. To even better understand the power that was at Jesus' disposal, let's analyze the power of one angel. Isaiah 37:36 tells us that in one night, one angel killed 185,000 men. That means that 12 legions of angels could kill 13,320,000,000 men. The point? Jesus didn't really need Peter's sword that night. Sure, our humanity prompts us to react when we're hurt. But I wonder if we aren't mimicking Peter when we strike back as a response. I wonder if we're not using a sword in plain view of our Savior, the one with limitless power. We often justify our response by arguing that we're simply giving back what we were given. We use phrases like, "Hey, God didn't put me on this earth to be anyone's doormat." Yeah, I get it. We don't want to look bad in front of others. If we're honest, our pride gets the best of us. Well, I did a quick count and found at least 100 scriptures discouraging pride. And here are 3 in the book of Proverbs. When pride comes, then comes shame. But with the humble is wisdom. Everyone proud in heart is an abomination to the Lord. Though they join forces, none will go unpunished. And a man's pride will bring him low. But the humble in spirit, they will retain honor. At the last call, I shared a story of the song, "I Have Decided to Follow Jesus." Let me give you a synopsis of that story. The lyrics to "I Have Decided to Follow Jesus" come from the last words of a man who, along with his family, was converted to Christianity in the late 1800s in North India. That part of the world was hostile toward the gospel, and as such, the village leaders thought it necessary to make an example of this family. Asked to renounce his faith, he refused. As his children were killed, he uttered the words, "I have decided to follow Jesus." Upon a second refusal, he watched his wife killed, and as he said, "Though no one joins me, still I will follow." And given one last opportunity to renounce his faith, his refusal meant his own death, at which point he said, "The cross before me, the world behind me." Here is a man whose family and he were martyred for their faith. The thing is, he was only separated from them for a moment. Matthew 5:10 says, "Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Though we may feel justified in doing so, if we refuse to retaliate, we will honor the words of Romans 12:17 and 18. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everybody. And if it's possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Hey, no one ever said that being a Christ follower was going to be easy. Christ himself proved that walking the right road can lead to a cross. I'm going to give it back to your home group leaders now. Thanks. God bless.